Story 1. Everything began a crisp October evening. I had forever been captivated by the creepy magnificence of burial grounds, and that evening, my interest defeated me. Outfitted with an electric lamp and a heart loaded with adrenaline, I chose to investigate the old burial ground that lay toward the finish of Graveyard Street. As I moved toward the entry, I was unable to shake the inclination that I was being watched. I got over it as nerves and wandered further in. The moon cast a scary sparkle over the gravestones, making long, spooky shadows that moved in the breeze. I meandered further into the burial ground, attracted to an endured catacomb that stood unfavorably somewhere far off. It was supposed to be the last resting spot of a well-off family from the 1900 years. The air became colder, and the breeze murmured through the trees like forlorn spirits. Similarly, as I arrived at the tomb, I heard weak, far-off voices. My heart beat in my chest as I stressed to tune in. There was no denying it, somebody was in there, and they were in good company. Bringing my mental fortitude, I moved toward the tomb and carefully pushed the weighty stone entryway. It squeaked open, uncovering a scene straight out of a bad dream. A gathering, their countenances concealed underneath hooded robes, encompassed a special stepped area shrouded in bizarre images and candles. Dread attached me to the spot as I watched their agitating custom. They recited in a language I was unable to comprehend, their voices becoming stronger and more unpropitious as time passes. I was unable to make out their goals, however it was clear they were looking for trouble evil. I made a stride back, my electric lamp slipping from my shaking hand. Its sound raising a ruckus around town reverberated through the sepulchre, and the robed figures turned toward me. Alarm flooded through me as they progressed, their eyes sparkling with noxiousness. I ran out of the tomb, my heart hustling as I staggered through the burial ground. Branches pawed at my skin, and gravestones appeared to move in the dimness. I could hear the religion-like serenade developing stronger behind me, and I realized I needed to get away. I arrived at the graveyard doors and didn't think back until I was securely on the opposite side. There, under the twilight, I saw the robed figures had halted at the entry, their shocking serenades blurring into the evening. I had barely gotten away from anything that unholy ceremonial they were performing. I advanced home, my psyche hustling with dread and doubt. I was unable to shake the inclination that I had coincidentally found something profoundly evil on Burial Ground Street. I always avoided that cemetery, and I'll continuously consider what dull mysteries lay secret underneath its gravestones. In this way, my kindred redditors, on the off chance that you at any point end up attracted to the charm of a burial ground around evening time, recollect my story. A few spots are best left undisturbed, and a few mysteries are improved left covered in obscurity. Remain protected out there, and may you never experience the revulsions I did that game-changing evening. Story 2. Picture this, it was a desolate night, and I was searching for an exceptional rush. Oakwood Graveyard, situated on the edges of town, had forever been the subject of neighborhood legends. Its set of experiences was covered in dimness, and many asserted it was spooky by anxious spirits. In this way, I chose to investigate it myself. As I entered the burial ground, the sky developed cloudy, creating an evil-shaded area over the headstones. The air was weighty with an odd fear, yet not set in stone to reveal reality. The headstones, a tracing all the way back to the 1800s, were broken and endured, taking the stand concerning innumerable spirits who had gone through. The air became colder with each step I took. I was unable to shake the sensation of being watched, as though concealed eyes followed everything I might do. My heart beat, however I was unable to turn around now. Then, at that point, I saw them, a gathering, or seemingly individuals, clustered together close to an old catacomb. They were wearing worn-out, extremely old dress, their appearances clouded by shadows. Seeing them sent a shudder down my spine, however interest defeated me. I carefully drew nearer, my strides muted by the moist earth. The figures appeared to be careless in regards to my presence, engaged in some ghostly custom. They recited in a language I was unable to comprehend, their voices reverberating through the graveyard like a creepy ensemble. My senses shouted at me to leave, yet my interest held me hostage. I had to realize what was going on. As I edged nearer, a cool whirlwind smothered the candle they had lit. In the obscurity, I could scarcely make out their appearances, yet what I saw froze my blood. Their eyes shined with an unnatural, malignant light. Dread washed over me, yet I was unable to move. It was like an undetectable power held me set up. Alarm set in as I understood I was within the sight of something powerful. Then, one of them went to me. His face was thin, his eyes focused on mine. I could feel his frigid gaze penetrating through my spirit. With a throaty voice, he expressed a solitary word: leave. I really wanted no seriously persuading. I turned and catapulted, staggering over headstones in my scramble to get away. The vile serenade developed stronger behind me, yet I wouldn't even come close to thinking back. My heart beat in my chest as I dashed out of the graveyard. When I arrived at the well-being of my vehicle, I looked back at Oakwood burial ground. The figures were no place to be seen, yet the fear waited. I realized I had seen something past the domain of the living that evening. Along these lines, individual Redditors, notice. Oakwood graveyard holds privileged insights that are best left undisturbed. I can't make sense of what those figures were or what they needed, however I can perceive you this. I'll at no point ever gone to that spooky spot in the future. Story 3. Everything started on a moonless evening, the sort that sets the ideal stage for the grim. A gathering of companions and I had forever been entranced by the paranormal, and we chose to investigate an old, deserted burial ground that had acquired a vile standing in our town. Accounts of unusual phantoms and agitating murmurs had energized our interest, and we were unable to oppose the allurement any longer. We showed up at the burial ground beyond 12 p.m., our spotlight slicing through the thick haziness like blades. The stirring leaves above appeared to be murmuring privileged insights of the failed to remember spirits underneath us. The air was weighty with a mystifying feeling of premonition, yet we proceeded. As we wandered further into the burial ground, we saw curious headstones, some broken and inclining as though they were contacting us. The gravestones were recorded with names we were unable to translate, eroded by long stretches of climate and disregard. Obviously this spot had not seen guests in seemingly forever. Unexpectedly, a frigid breeze moved throughout the graveyard, smothering our spotlights and diving us into complete obscurity. Alarm set in as we bungled for our reinforcement lights, however before we could make them work, we heard the slightest of murmurs. It was a voice, delicate yet undeniable, coming from the shadows. Help me. The voice was loaded up with torment and hopelessness, reverberating through the graveyard like a spooky regret. Goosebumps ejected on our arms, and our hearts dashed as we attempted to find the wellspring of the voice. Yet, it appeared to come from all bearings, encompassing us in a terrible ensemble of ghostly requests. Then, at that point, from the obscurity arose a figure, clad in worn-out clothes and with empty eyes that sparkled with a powerful light. It was a man, or possibly it had all the earmarks of being, yet his presence was everything except human. He moved toward us gradually, his voice becoming stronger and more frantic with each step. Help me. Discharge me from this place. Dread held us, and we staggered in reverse, stumbling over headstones in our hysterical endeavors to get away. Yet, the figure was determined, seeking after us with an uncanny, otherworldly speed. His spooky structure appeared to go through headstones and trees, opposing the laws of nature. As we arrived at the burial grounds entry, we went to see the figure remaining at the limit, actually enticing to us with his chilling requests. We escaped into the evening, our hearts beating, and the sensation of fear hanging weighty over us. We always avoided that spurned graveyard, tormented by the memory of that evening. Right up till now, we can't make sense of the experience we had. Was it the phantom of a tortured soul caught in the memorial park's haziness, or was it something considerably more vile? Anything it was, that evening everlastingly significantly impacted our point of view on the otherworldly. We discovered that occasionally, Interest can lead us into the haziest and most alarming corners of the unexplored world. In the event that you at any point wind up attracted to deserted burial grounds search of the paranormal, recall our nerve-wracking story and proceed cautiously, for you may very well experience something past your most dreaded fears.